All right, people. Iron Man 3 is out. I had a chance to go see it today, and I'm going to say every nerd part of me is very happy right now. Seriously, it really is. This Iron Man 3 is completely different from the others because it takes place after the events in New York, after the Avengers. When Tony Stark had an opportunity, well, actually, when Tony Stark pretty much saved the world, he practically went into the wormhole, took the bomb. I mean, for those who saw the Avengers, you know what happened. And actually, the events after the Avengers really took a toll on Tony Stark. He just wasn't right in the mind. He had anxiety attacks. He had issues sleeping. He literally overcraft overload. Like, what I mean is he had like suits upon suits upon suits upon suits and upon suits, building on suits because he could not sleep. His productivity was absolutely out of his mind because he really had problems focusing after the events have happened, or what happened after the Avengers. And honestly, he just wasn't right, and he just couldn't. He pretty much threw everything into his work. Now, I'm gonna do my best not to spoil this, but even though my nerd senses are just flowing right now, and my inner child is like screaming and being so happy, something like that. But either or, what I'm saying is, I'm gonna do my best not to spoil it for you guys. But I will say this: this movie was great. It was beyond great. It was sheer awesomeness, and the reason why I'm saying that is because it wasn't so much focused on Iron Man. Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? You're not a true nerd. You don't like Iron Man. I like Iron Man, okay? I like Iron Man, but I like the fact that they talked about Tony Stark. But they added Iron Man in there. It was a great blend. The thing is, we never really had an opportunity to get to know Tony Stark besides his excessive well, he's a narcissist. We all know he's a narcissist. We had an opportunity to see that side of him in the first Iron Man, as well as the second Iron Man when he came out to say he was Iron Man. But the events of what happened in New York were not covered up. People are knowing about it. They know about it. They know that Tony Stark is Iron Man. Everything's pretty much out in the open for everyone to know. But no one really knew how much he was suffering inside. No one really knew how crazy he was after the events and what he saw in the wormhole. He would never tell anybody what he saw in the wormhole, and that freaked him out. He never fathomed that he would see more than just us. Like the universe is so big that honestly, we're not the only people in it. There's more things out there, especially alien creatures that were trying to destroy the Earth. But regardless of that, Iron Man was great because it really did show what Tony Stark could do. It showed everything about him, what made him who he was, the brilliance behind Tony Stark. And even when it came to the point where you thought he lost everything, it gave you an idea on how fragile he was and how he came up, you know, and what had to inspire him to literally go back and get out there and do what he had to do. And, you know, but this is how I see it. Ben Kingsley played, I mean, I love everything about Ben Kingsley, and the fact that he was playing the Mandarin was even better. But it had a whole philosophical twist behind the Mandarin and behind what the Mandarin stood for and what the whole issue of terrorism stood for. If you honestly didn't think that, I mean, everyone has their own idea, but that's how I appeared, and that's how it came to me. And it actually showed that the Mandarin wasn't the true villain. There was a true villain behind the Mandarin, and you kind of knew exactly who the true villain was, but the way he did it was real crafty. And honestly, the opponents that he had in this movie were phenomenal. And excuse me for burping so much, I just ate. But I know that's gross. But anyway, it's phenomenal how you would never think of something like that. You would never think of any kind of technological soldier like these guys. I mean, seriously, the way that they were like freaking T-1000s, except they weren't made out of metal. It was crazy. I kept thinking of T-1000 when I see these guys. I was floored. And not to mention that the comedy, they had a lot of humor in it, and the humor was well done. It was sheer Tony Stark, 100% Tony Stark. They even had a kid on there, and usually when you have a kid on these things, you're like, oh gosh, are they going to try to be all huggy and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sometimes a kid does sap up the act, but this kid, I liked him. I really did. He didn't bother me all that much. Not to mention the fact that he was kind of one-on-one with Tony Stark. He was kind of a little mini Tony Stark. And I honestly really did like the connection between those two. And to be honest with you, the one thing that no reviewer wanted to talk about after seeing this movie, I now know why. Because there's probably tons and tons of Iron Man nerds peeing themselves, throwing up, doing all kinds of bad after seeing what happened at the last part of the movie. Because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I want to say that if you are a diehard Iron Man nerd, you're not going to be happy with the ending. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to walk out. You're going to pretty much shut down everything Iron Man. But if you're like me, that likes closure or something like that, I mean, I like closure when closure fits. It's sad to see it happen, but it has to happen. It had to happen for whatever movie is going to connect it to this. But I am going to say this. Iron Man 3 was a solid movie. I loved all the characters in it. I loved everything about it and what it stood for. Especially the philosophical message that they had in there kind of made you think a little. Don't try to overthink it, because that's what philosophy does. But regardless of that, I will say this. It's a well done, put together movie. And even if you're an Iron Man nerd and you don't agree with the ending, it's still something that you should watch and rent over and over again, because it's that good of a movie. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. Leave your comments in the comment section below or send me a video response. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions about Iron Man 3. This is Nancy Girl 30 signing off. Go see it!